Hey, Mr. Blue Road's coming at you talking about all this bullshit about the national anthem, not saying the national anthem, which is ridiculous in my mind. Anyway, I'm going to tell you the story that we all know, the story that I'm trying to remember here that I was taught. I was told one time there was this mouthpiece by the name of Francis Scott Key, and he wrote a song. I'm sure y'all remember it and heard of it. You hear it every damn where you go, church and the goddamn racetrack and the ball game, football game. It's called the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, people. Even Jimi Hendrix worked on it. It's your song as an American, if you're an American. When you go to church and stand there, and everybody sings the words of that song, and the words just naturally flow out of your brain and your mouth, and we don't even realize what you're saying when you sing it. I mean, most of us memorized about half of it when we was a kid, and we never even really thought about what it meant. Just remember Hendrix playing it or whatever. But let me tell you a story, a real good story, I think. Francis Scott Key was a mouthpiece, a lawyer up in Baltimore. And the colonies were engaged in a vicious conflict with the mother country over there, Britain. And because of this bullshit and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the goddamn British had prisoners. So the Americans finally made the move to go over and say, can we negotiate the release of some of these prisoners? And they said, we want to send our man out there to talk with you. They was holding American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore over there. And they said, we want to send Francis Scott Key down there. He's crazy enough to do it, and he'll come out there and negotiate and make a mutual exchange for some of y'all's bastards. And on the appointed day, he got his ass in a rowboat and rowed his ass out there, and he negotiated with them bastards. And they reached to the goddamn conclusion, and they were going to be exchanged on a 1-to-1 basis. And Francis Scott Key, all jubilant and shit, started jumping up and down, run down in the bottom of the boat down there, and what he found was a cargo full of humanity. And he said, I got news for you boys tonight. Y'all's free. He said, tonight I have successfully negotiated y'all's return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this shithole, this filth, and out of these chains tonight. Then he went back up on board to arrange for the passage back to the shore. The admiral came and said, oh, we seem to have a slight problem here, bloke. He said, what? We will still honor our commitment to release these blokes, but it will be merely academic after tonight anyhow. It won't matter, mate. And Francis looked at him kindly funny and said, what the hell are you talking about? And he said, well, Mr. Key, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies, your people, to either capitulate and lay down the colors of that bloody flag that you bloody Yanks think so highly of. Oh, you see that fort right there? Fort Henry? We're going to remove it from the face of the bloody earth. Francis, looking kindly funny, said, how the hell are you going to do that? And he said, if you will care to scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little ships out there. And he said, I quote, that is the entire bloody British bloody war fleet, mate. And he said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armor is being called upon to demolish that there fort. And it will be here within striking distance with about 2.5 bloody hours. Nah. And he said, the war is over.
and these men will be free any bloody way, mate.
Francis said, "You can't shell that goddamn fort. There's goddamn women and kids in there." He said, that ain't even really a goddamn military fort. There's goddamn women and kids in there. And then he said,
"Well, don't worry about it, mate. We've left them a bloody way out."
Francis said, "Oh yeah, well what the hell is that?" And he said,
"Do you see that flag way up on the rampart?"
He said,
"We have told them if they will lower that flag, the shelling would stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered. And you will now be under British rule."
and then Francis went back down below, told the men what was about to goddamn happen. He said, and they said, "How many ships?" And he said, "Hundreds." And the ships got closer, and Francis went back up on top, and he said, "Men, I'll holler down to you what's going on as we're watching this shit." And then as twilight began to fall, and as that haze hung over the ocean like it does at sunset, suddenly, them British bastards unloaded on our ass. He said the sounds were so deafening, and there was so many guns, and there was no relief. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. The entire sky was completely lit. And he said from down below, all he could hear were men, the prisoners, saying was, "Tell us where the flag is. What the hell's happening with the damn flag? Is the goddamn flag still flying or what? Tell us." 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling. Every time a bomb would explode and would get close to the flag, you could see the flag illuminated in a red glare from the bomb. And Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, "It's still up. It's not down." And then the Admiral came and said, "You bloody people are insane. What's the bloody matter with you bloody idiots?" He said, "Don't they bloody understand this is a bloody hopeless, impossible bloody situation? Bloody." And then Francis Scott Key said, he remembered what George Washington had said. He said, "The goddamn thing that sets American Christian apart from all the other goddamn people in the world is a real goddamn American will die standing on his feet before he will live on his goddamn knees." And then the Admiral said, "We have now focused all our bloody firepower right on that bloody rampart, and we will be taking that bloody flag down. Nah, nah, nah." And he said, "We don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that bloody flag has been bloody hit multiple again and again, and a bloody again, and a bloody again, and a bloody again, bloody. And yeah, it's still bloody standing. And we don't find no bloody why." And then he said, "Well, we're about to bring every gun that we can bloody get to bear on that bloody flag." And Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying, the prayer. "God, let that flag fly, keep it flying where we last seen it, God." Sunrise came, he said. There's a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript and in shreds. And the flagpole itself was in at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard. and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what the hell had happened down there. And what he found was that flag and that flagpole had the shit blown out of it. It had fallen. Men, fathers who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground. Although knowing all the British guns were trained on that flag, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. And when their bodies was removed and others came out and took their place. And Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were the Patriots' bodies. And then he penned the song. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? For the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, is that star-spangled banner yet fly and wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded, people, and the price, it was paid.